Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Woodstock City Council, June 6, 2024. This hybrid meeting is being held in person here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the Agendas, Meetings, and Minutes page of the city's website. We did have a closed session of council. I believe we ended that at 1:23, I believe was the time on that. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Okay, before we get going, actually, I apologize. We do have a proclamation and a guest. I'd love to do some introductions if that is all right. Thank you. I apologize, everyone. We were a little bit rushed getting here, so I think we've got everything down pat now. So his proclamation, whereas the Seniors Month is an annual province-wide celebration, and whereas seniors have contributed and continue to contribute immensely to the life and vibrancy of this community, and whereas seniors continue to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and important and active members of this community, and whereas their contributions, past and present, warrant appreciation and recognition, and their stories deserve to be told. And whereas the health and well-being of seniors is in the interest of all and further adds to the health and well-being of the community. Whereas the knowledge and experience seniors pass on to us continues to benefit us all. Therefore, I, Mayor Jerry Accioni, do hereby proclaim June 1st to the 30th, 2024 as Seniors Month in the City of Woodstock, dated the 6th day of June, 2024 in Woodstock, Ontario. If I may. Thanks, everybody. You can clap. Right here is okay? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
And now I'd like to introduce a special guest that is here from across the little bit of an ocean in between, a little bit of water here between us. Councillor and Vice Chair of West Oxfordshire District Council, Dr. Elizabeth Pusket. Thank you so much for being here and welcome. Yes. I do have a little bit here. Well, please come forward. Yes. City Council members of the audience and viewers at home, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to present Dr. Elizabeth Pusket, Councillor and Vice Chair of West Oxfordshire District Council, representing the wards of Woodstock and Blaydon. I, along with Mary Reed, Director Curator of the Woodstock Art Gallery, had the fortunate opportunity to meet with Councillor Pusket last January 2023, when the gallery was presenting an exhibition at the Canadian Embassy located in London, England. At the time, Councillor Pusket was the Mayor of Woodstock, a position she has held for several terms, recently retiring from the role in 2023. Dr. Pusket is also known for her work as an academic pediatrician, and her research interest in nutrition for children have given rise to over 100 publications. During our visit to Woodstock, Oxfordshire, my wife, Sarah, who is referred to as the Mayoress, she liked that title very much, were received by the West Oxfordshire District Council, and it was reassuring that similar issues we face in this council chamber here in Woodstock, Canada, are also shared by our namesake in Woodstock, England. Councillor Pusket was a marvelous host, organizing a meeting with Mary and her counterparts at the Oxfordshire Museum to explore potential exhibition exchanges similar to the one we have recently done with our sister city in Sylvania, Ohio. I want to personally thank you, Elizabeth, for making a point of visiting us here today. And I hope our welcoming to our friendly city is just as warm and memorable as the one you extended to us when we visited your Woodstock last year. I hope you find our council meeting just as enlightening as I found yours, and that you enjoy the rest of your time here in Canada. And congratulations to your niece in her wedding. Yes. I look forward to continuing to foster the connections between our two Woodstocks. Please accept this little gift from Woodstock, Canada as a token of our appreciation. Please come forward. Thank you. We aim to please.
May I take that?
Yes, please, please.
Thank you. I mean, I totally reciprocate what your mayor has said. I am really enjoying being here today and meeting you all. And it was a pleasure to have him and others in Woodstock just over a year, well, 18 months ago, more or less. But it's great. And as he said, there's quite a lot of similarity between the way councils go, but we have 49 district councillors, which is rather more than you.
Yeah.
I suppose I should acknowledge it being D-Day, a great day of celebration in Britain and of course in Europe, that we recognise in Britain the work done by the Canadian forces, particularly on Juno Breach, which was a fairly catastrophic, although successful occasion, and of course led to people like the Canadians, the Allies being in Europe, or at least being in France. They were in Italy, but being in France for the first time for 4 years, which was quite something. And we must be ever grateful to those people who sacrificed themselves on that day. I'm actually the chair of West Oxfordshire now. I was deputy chair last year. And I bring you greetings from the West Oxfordshire District Council, from the Woodstock Town Council, which I'm also a member, and from the Friends of the Oxfordshire Museum, of which I was a president, chair a few years ago, and which I've been a long-standing member, which supports the Oxfordshire Museum. It's not just the Museum of Woodstock, it's a Museum of Oxfordshire, so our scene is rather broader. And those of you who've been there, of course, know that we have rather expensive neighbours, Blenheim Palace, which is always a good reason to come to Woodstock, to come and look at Woodstock, but also pay a visit to Blenheim Palace. Although I have to warn you, it costs an arm and leg to get inside the gates there. So it's a real pleasure to be here. And if I can put these wonderful things down, I'll just have something for you.
Oh, thank you. I think we want to take a photo as well. Yeah.
Sustainable Woodstock, which is a group I was a founding member of a few years ago, which looks after sustainability and green issues in the town. But inside are some goodies and general advertising for the town, which I hope you will receive with many thanks and warm greetings from Woodstock itself. It's a pleasure to be here once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can we get a picture? Elizabeth, do you mind? You want with the photo or?
There. You better send me the photo and then I sure advertise with sustainable Woodstock. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. All right, thank you everyone for allowing me to do that. Next up, we have disclosure of any new business. I'm not familiar with any. Matters arising from the minutes? None. And now the minutes. Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, moved by Councillor Schadenberg, seconded by Councillor Wismer Van Meer, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on May 16th, 2024 be adopted.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. No additions to the agenda that I'm aware of as well, but we do have some presentations. So at this point, 7A, if you're following along, joint sister city logo contest. Loretta Walters is the chair of the Sister City Advisory Committee. Welcome.
I'm just not sure how to push the button. Oh. Gotcha. That's what I'm looking for there. Oh, there you go. Thank God you're here. Perfect. Technology. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Your Worship, Mayor Tony, City Council, and members of the audience. My name is Loretta Walters, and I'm the chair of the Sister City Committee for the City of Woodstock. This afternoon, I will be presenting to you the outcome of our recent Sister City logo competition held in conjunction with our sister city in Sylvania, Ohio. Just a reminder to council, to the citizens of Woodstock, the Sister City, the City of Woodstock Sister City Committee and the Sylvania Sister City Commission work together to enhance the equality of life, health, and well-being of both communities through recreational, cultural, educational exchanges. To celebrate this unique relationship, the sister cities held a logo competition open to residents of both communities. A jury was formed with equal representation from each city to weigh in on the submissions received. Out of the 14 submissions, representing an equal split between American and Canadian designers, the jury selected the short list of designs seen here. These 4 logo designs were then presented to the community for feedback. After a slight revision to make the logo more reflective of both cities, the final result is presented here. The new logo will be used to promote the excellent work of the sister city committees. I am delighted to share with you the winner of the competition is artist Nathan Friend. Nathan lives with his wife and 2 children in Woodstock, Ontario. Nathan works from home as a software engineer. Before moving to Ontario, Nathan and Bethany, his wife, lived in Prince Edward Island for several years before moving to Woodstock to be closer to family. Nathan is originally from Iowa and immigrated to Canada in 1916 after meeting Bethany. In putting the logo together, he wanted to merge the 2 cities' logos in a way that was seamless and reminiscent of both the original logos. He wanted the logo to express the theme of the quality of life, health, and well-being. Sylvania's oak leaf logo is the perfect symbol for this, so he prominently featured the oak leaves growing out of the W. This merging our 2 sister cities, symbol communicating unity and the beauty of our sister city relationships. The sunrise and subtle city skyline provide a backdrop of hope and prosperity. None of this is ever done by one person, so I would like to thank some of the city staff that were involved in making all this happen, and that includes Colleen Collins, the manager of marketing and communications, Robin D'Angelis, communication specialist, and Spencer Holman, web and digital communications developer. And none of this would have happened without Mary Reed, who deserves the biggest thank you of all. She's the director coordinator of the Woodstock Art Gallery, and she did a momentous amount of work on this. And I'm sure there was lots of days she wanted to pull her hair out because there was days I wanted to do it. So I would also like to thank the jury for their time. I would like to now ask Nathan to come forward to the podium to receive your award from Mayor Achoni. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, on behalf of City Council, not only our City Council, but I'd also like to say on behalf of Sylvania City Council, because this is a joint, thank you very much for participating and congratulations on your design.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan.
Perfect. Thank you, Loretta, for that. Delegations. At this point, 8A, Christine Scrimmager from Scrimmager and Company. Welcome.
Great, so am I okay to sit on here? Sorry.
Before I have you start, I will look for a motion to accept. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself. Loretta Walters, Chair of the Sister City Advisory Committee, will present the outcome of the Sister City logo competition. Mayor Jerry Accioni will then, on behalf of City Council and the joint sister cities of Sylvania, Ohio, and Woodstock, Ontario, make a check presentation to Nathan Friend, winner of the Sister City logo competition.
Thank you. We'll go with seconder, Councillor Tate. All those in favor? Yes, thank you. Carried. And that hopefully gave enough time.
There, I'm trying to get, I'm just trying, shortcut for full screen. Glad to see. I'm glad you're here.
So for those watching at home, of course, we're going to see the 2023 draft consolidated financial statements, as well as the 2023 City of Woodstock draft trust fund statements. You found it?
Should it go up? Is it supposed to go up?
Yep,
What's that? Oh, there we go.
there we go.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All
Welcome.
right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Scrimger, as was mentioned. I am the auditor for the City of Woodstock, and I'm presenting our draft financial statements. Under Canadian auditing standards, those charged with governance, which would be this council, must approve the financial statements, and then once they're approved, we can finalize them. And then your director will be finalizing the FIR, which goes into the province on your behalf. So I'll go through them page by page. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll hopefully be able to answer those questions. A couple overriding things before I get into it. The first is during 2023, there was a new accounting principle that was adopted by CPA Canada that now affects your financial statements, and that's called asset retirement obligation. And you'll see that, and because that is something that has to be reported in 2022 as well, because you have comparative numbers on your financial statements, we have restated the 2022 opening surplus. And so we'll see that when we get into the statements. And the second thing is, I'll just remind council that in 2022, there was still several COVID restrictions for the beginning part of the year. And so when we see numbers comparing 2022 and 2023, especially in the revenues and expenditures, that will become evident, especially in the area of recreation. So a couple of overriding things that I just wanted to preface the statements with. So this is the independent auditor's report. It's a 2-page report dated today's date. Hopefully that's the date that these get approved. It is a clean, what we call in the audit world, a clean audit opinion, meaning that I did not find anything immaterial to restate these statements. There is a materiality set by the auditors. It's 1.2 million for this municipality. That doesn't mean I only look at 1.2 million transactions over 1.2 million. Every revenue, expenditure, and payroll item is subject to our statistical sampling in the city, and we have issued this clean opinion based on that testing. So the first statement here with numbers is the consolidated statement of financial position. And I'll do a high level review, but again, if there's any questions specific to numbers, please let me know. As I've mentioned in many of my other presentations, the net financial assets number, so down right here, is the number that I sort of focused in on when I first looking at your financial statements. So that would be the amount of money that you would have in the bank at the end of the day if you paid off all of your liabilities and everyone paid you what they owed you. And so you can see that it has increased by about $3 million this year, which shows a good financial stability from the year before. Everything below that line are assets you need to have in place in order to provide the services you do, buildings, roadways, those kinds of things. And so obviously you cannot sell those. And so that's why I separate those out. And you can see there that we have replaced assets. So the thing I'm looking for is that you're replacing assets in excess of what you amortize them. So amortization is the using up of assets. And in fact, the amortization is about 11 million for this municipality, and you actually replaced about, sorry, just gonna get my numbers here, 19 million of new assets. So you certainly replaced assets in excess of what the amortization was. Along with that, I look at where you are in your debt level, and so making sure that you're not borrowing a lot of money to finance these assets. And in fact, your debt level has gone down overall. You issued about $900,000 of new debt in 2023, but you paid off more than that, and so your debt level has actually gone down this year, which is great when you're replacing the assets at that level of $19 million. The capital work in progress, you may see that that number's gone up quite a bit, and that's included in those capital asset numbers I've just given you. And that's really just projects that were begun either in this year or in 2023 or 2022 and are not yet completed. The main one there, or the main ones there are in the development area, the finalization of those developments that are in progress at the end of the year. Coming down an accumulated surplus at the end of the year of 305 million versus 295 at the end of last year. Any questions at all on that statement? All right. Sorry, I should have mentioned too, the asset retirement obligation. So that's this number right here. That's where that new accounting standard comes in. And you can see that as just short of $3 million there. So that just means that in future years, you're going to need to pay that out in order to retire the assets safely. And then for the most part, it's regarding asbestos, any contamination from asbestos. All right, we now come to the statement of operations and accumulated surplus. And again, I'll mention that this is consolidated. All these statements are consolidated, and that's because it includes all of the boards of council as well as the operations of the city in general. No, it's fine. I'm glad it's yours that wide, that's all. All right, so I'll just highlight some of the main differences that you'll see. So on the overall revenue line, you'll see the other revenue was budgeted much higher than the actual. And that's really, as I mentioned in the previous statement, that's those developments that need to be completed in order for you to make those sales. And so that's really just a timing issue that will happen, I'm assuming, in this year and next year. And so that's the main difference there. And the other under user charges, you'll see about $1 million increase there, and that relates to that recreation that I mentioned. Obviously, in 2022, recreation was affected by the COVID restrictions. In 2023, as they've been lifted, you're now back to sort of the pre-COVID levels. And then under expenditures, you see you budgeted 74 million and actual was 86 million, and that should not concern council because the increase is the amortization. So when you budget for the expenditures, you budget for the capital in the year that you purchase it, and then in the actuals is the amortization of that capital over the years of its useful life, and that's why the 86 million is almost 11 million more than, and which I mentioned the amortization was 11 million. And the other increase, the increase from the previous year, again, if you look at the recreation line, you'll see it's up significantly. And then the protection to persons and property, the main increase there is the post-retirement benefits that were reevaluated based on current inflation rates and retiree rates that was done in 2023. So all that to come down to the excess of revenue over expenditures before other, which is this line right here. And what I'm looking for there is that it's obviously a positive, so that means that your revenues, current revenues are exceeding your expenditures plus your amortization, which is the case. Everything below that line relates to capital and is a one-time, could be a one-time thing, such as government grants that are available in any given year. Donated capital just relates to capital that we've assumed on the completion of subdivisions that have been developed. We then take over those assets and we are now responsible for the ongoing maintenance of them. Any questions on that? I will mention that if you look over on this restated, this number right here, that 2 million, that's where we brought in the net adjustment for the asset retirement obligation that I mentioned that we had to go back and restate the previous year's surplus. Any questions at all? Don't make this too easy on me. All right, we'll move on. The next statement is your cash flow statement. Sorry, gotta do two things at once here. And I won't spend a lot of time on this. I've talked about the major increases and decreases of the non-cash items on the balance sheet. And as you can see, the majority of them relate around capital and the financing of that. The next statement is your statement of net assets, and this is really a good summary of what's happened in capital, which is obviously where you're spending a significant amount of money. So there you see the 15 million plus the 3 million is that 19 million that I mentioned of new assets that you engaged in, and then amortizing it over the 11 million, which I'm rounding again numbers there. Then we get into the notes to the financial statements. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. There are a couple notes, new notes this year that will disappear next year related to that restatement, just explaining what it was with regards to the asset retirement. In addition, there's a note 3 that's more robust than it was in the past. And that's just a new requirement to detail the types of investments that you're involved in. And so that just details them out there, the 23 million in note number 3. And then the other note that I think the council would be most interested in is the note on surplus, which is note number 11, which breaks down that surplus. So the 3 million is your operating surplus for the year. And then the other surpluses, so what you have invested in tangible capital assets. And then these post-retirement benefits and the asset retirement obligations are basically receivables against new future years tax rates that we will have to fund at the time when these people either retire or these asset obligations have to be met. The other point I wanted to make is if you look at reserves and reserve funds, I mentioned that we engaged in about 19 million of new assets. And you can see here that our reserves and reserve funds have also stayed very steady to the previous year, which again is another indicator that of financial stability, that you're able to replace these assets at that level and still maintain reserves and reserve funds, as well as keep your debt levels reasonable. There's two schedules at the back of the financial statements. Oops, I went too far. This is the consolidated schedule of tangible capital assets. Again, just breaking down your assets by components. So this lets you see, and for the most, and about half of the assets, as you would expect, are in the infrastructure area. And then the last schedule is your segmented schedule. This just breaks down revenues and expenditures between functions, which is what the FIR I mentioned at the beginning is filed with the province, and it's filed on function base. And so this just is a segue between the audited financial statements and what is sent into the province. And then, sorry, now I need to figure out how to go back here. The other statement you have is the trust fund statements. I think we could probably do it without putting them up there. Is that okay? I'm not sure what I'm doing here. And it is the audited statement of the trust funds, 478,000 at the end of 2023 versus 491,000 at the end of 2022. And really it's interest and then any capital or other expenditures that qualify for what the provisions for the trust funds are. And there's a list of those in note number 2 of what those trust funds are. And I know that the director has sent or had a report on those trust funds and trying to wind up some of those, which I fully support.
Thank you. Any questions of council? Seeing none. Thank you very
Can I
much.
make one more comment?
Yes, of course.
I'm gonna embarrass her, but she's looking down now. No, I just want to thank the director very much for all her help and her staff, one of whom's back here. They go through a lot to get the audit done and answer a lot of questions and do a lot of emails back and forth and put in a lot of extra hours for it. So I really appreciate their help in getting this done.
Thank you for recognizing staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that the 2023 draft consolidated financial statements for the city of Woodstock and the 2023 City of Woodstock draft trust fund statements as prepared by Scrimgeour and Company CPA Professional Corporation with attached independent auditor's report dated June 6, 2024 be approved.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Counselor Lauder. Any further discussion or questions with staff? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. No consideration of planning reports this evening, or this afternoon, I apologize. Next up, consideration of correspondence. 10A, Counselor Schadenberg has one.
Yeah, the motion is that Woodstock City Council support the resolution from the Township of Archipelago requesting the province of Ontario to reconsider and ultimately decide against the proposed phasing out of free private drinking water testing services, and further that the resolution be circulated to the Township of Archipelago, the Honorable Andrea Conjin, Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Minister of Health, and the Honorable Ernie Hardeman, Oxford MPP, and Southwestern Public Health.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Counselor Tate. Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, I guess first of all, it can be stated that this resolution could be somewhat being dated to go ahead and because it was the Auditor General for the province of Ontario that suggested that it was maybe possible to stop giving free water testing for private wells for private residential people. But I also think it's also very important to be very proactive. And if there's over 400 municipalities in the province of Ontario, if our Minister of Health, Sylvia Jones, received, let's say 400 letters from different townships and villages and cities like Woodstock to make sure that this continues to be a free water testing system, that's very important. And I know basically from my 20 years in real estate that the private water wells, especially for residential purposes, are basically testing for E. coli and coliforms. It's still very important, whether you're talking Walkerton or anything along those lines, to make sure that the citizens have access to be able to test their water basically when it could be or should be tested for everything from well depth and precipitants that might be in the water. The wells located in rocky areas that can sometimes have fluctuating conditions of water too. So it's very important to be able to, as I say, go to Southwest Public Health and get your water tested.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, sorry, I'd just be remiss if I sort of said that these are really for well properties with well water, residential people with well water, not people that say live on the city of Woodstock on a residential street, because we know how good our drinking water is.
Yes, good point. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. There's no staff presentations, mayor's reports, or councilor reports that I'm familiar with, but we do have some department reports. So 14A, Administrative Services. There's an application for tax relief under section 357(1) of the Municipal Act 2001. Counselor Tate, second by Counselor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council directs the treasurer to council reduce or refund the taxes levied in 2022, 2023, and 2024 as detailed in the reports.
Thank you. Any questions of staff or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Nothing from engineering, cultural services, but we do have Parks and Recreation. 14D1, updated land management agreement, UTRCA. Councillor Schanberg.
Yes, so Woodstock City Council authorized the mayor and the clerk to execute the updated Upper Thames River Conservation Authority Land Management Agreement.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Leatherborough. Discussion? Councillor Schanberg.
I guess briefly, I'd like to ask Brian Connors from the Parks and Recreation Department to basically explain what this is involved. And we all know there's hundreds of acres on both sides of the Piddock and the dam crossing for the Piddock too, but just specifically what the agreement involves.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. This is a 5-year check-in that was put into the 2019 agreement that originally opened up the North Shore, South Shore of the Piddock Dam area, as well as the water access. Basically, what the two sides went into this, we looked at what the next 10 years of this agreement will look like. We had to chunk it out because the UTRCA could only, they couldn't do a 20-year full agreement. So it was 4 5-year agreements that were put in place. The first 5 years would be a reevaluation. So this was kind of a getting back to negotiations after 5 years. One of the things that the UTRCA identified was the cost on their end significantly increased. When they did this agreement with us, they were behind a $10 paywall, so they hardly had any people visiting the property. Now, currently, they have as many people in that location as we do in our parks. And we certainly know that the last 3 years, the parks have exploded as far as the number of people, and with that comes a higher expense. So we spent the last 9 months going back and forth with a number of things, but the cost was certainly one of those. In that, the UTRCA first came to us with a costing of increase for 2024 to $350,000. In this agreement, we've got it so that in 2024, the cost is $0. But in 2025, it will go up to $26,590 to $250,970. And there on in from the next 9 years would be an increase of CPI. There would be another break after that where the negotiations could reopen if there is any other changes on that. The other pieces on the agreement is that the city will be responsible for cutting grass and trimming along Rivercrest Drive, as well as taking care of the garbage. The city has done this in the past when they've noticed that those things have been neglected, so that there shouldn't be too much of an impact on the city taking over that piece as well. The city can also move forward with pavilion redevelopment because the city is in charge of the capital renewal on the properties. And the property that will, or the project that is going to be renewed next will be fixing of the pavilion. However, all this money has been funded through the Leslie family, who've given a donation for the entirety of the project. The other piece that we have worked with the UTRCA to try to get some further connections is the park access. We see parks as being open all the time. The UTRCA doesn't see that. They have concerns with security that they've on their campgrounds, and so they want to see staffing there when the the park is open, which would be another extraordinary cost. So we have held fast that that's not going to happen unless council obviously directs us to do so. We were able to carve out one provision, which isn't much, but we could open, in this agreement now, we could open a month early if we provide 3 Molocks to deal with garbage that will be accumulating in the park area. However, the caveat to that is the UTRCA would like to see city staff open and close the dam gates in the mornings and evenings. We are a little hesitant on that. Right now, it would take us a little bit of time to get those Molocks in place, so we'll have time. But my concern with that is I don't want to see any staff locking gates while people may have inadvertently not seen signs and walked across, and now we've stranded them on the other side of the city. So that might not be the best course, but it has been a long slog. But we did come to, an agreement for this property to keep it open and to keep upping some of the assets that are kind of falling apart on that property that the citizens want to see.
Thank you. Councillor Leatherborough, no? Okay. Councillor Sandberg, go ahead.
Just have a quick, almost comical story. When I was talking to the folks at the UTRCA that have been around that campground for many, many years, back when the entire area you'd have to pay admission to go into, they called the one green space beyond the parking lot, sort of towards where the disc golf areas, they called it the Bluegrass District. Remember the Bluegrass Festival in Woodstock? It's been a long time since we had it, but the UTRCA folks still called that the Bluegrass area.
Thank you. I have a question of Mr. Connors. For clarity reasons, then are people going to be able to access 24 hours a day that park, or do they have to go through the gates to access that then?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. So during the dates that it is open, so this is basically when their staff is there, the spring, summer, and part of the fall, it will be fully open. The times that it wouldn't be open 24 hours will be when there's no UTRCA staff there.
So there does need to be staff there at all times.
That's what they
For access.
contend, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Thank you for your hard work on that as well. I know staff were working hard on that. Next up, municipal alcohol policy. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approves the revised council policy, PR 010 municipal alcohol policy.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Next up, 14D.3 RFP Community Spray Pad Playground Facility. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approves Open Space Solutions, Inc. bid of $1,274,858, excluding HST, to build a spray pad pavilion and playground on half of the upper complex field. And further, that council approves the relocation of $60,000 for fencing from account 0100-11347-0412 to the overall spray pad pavilion playground project.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
More of a comment. I had throwing this out on social media earlier this week just to share what was happening. And I mean, the feedback has been extremely positive. People are really excited to see this. I think people are confused exactly where the location is going. So trying to clear that up to the best as I could for people that did ask me. A couple of people did have some questions, and maybe Mr. Connors, you could maybe just to answer a couple of these. One was related to seating, just making sure that there was ample seating, benching and such. I'm wondering what those plans were for folks that were there with their youngsters. They saw the pavilion and such, wondering if there was seating inside of that or what the plans were. And also one individual's had a question about, it looked like a bit of a sand area that was in the drawings. Just questioning if these were to spec exactly what we would see. And I said that I would bring them up and have those addressed if we could.
Your worship, through the councillor's question, yes, there will be seating. There will be picnic tables in the middle of this. There'll be a playground on one side and a splash pad on the other with a pavilion in between, and there'll be seating there. The project will probably require some further benching, which we will be putting in as well, probably the following year, but there will be ample seating to begin with. With regarding to the surfacing, there is no sand. It's because it's a playground and a splay pad so close together. The playground will be a rubber surfacing, so there won't be any kind of move sand into the drains sort of scenario.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if you look at the agenda on the city council for the City of Woodstock website, there are a lot of terrific photos from different angles as to what this proposal looks like in sort of in concrete terms, for lack of a better term.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? And for the public, I'm going to ask as well. I saw quite often on Councillor Wismer Van Meer's post actually of the exact location. Can you share with the public exactly where this is going? Because there was a lot of discussion on that.
Your worship, through to your question, the location will be it's the upper complex soccer fields is going to be split in half. It will become instead of being an adult soccer field, it will now become a junior soccer field. As far as the location goes, some people would probably identify, if you look to where the lawn bowling club is, it's basically across the street. There's the community complex starts there, and that's where it is. If they would park in that parking lot, they would be right beside the splash pad playground when it's built. The construction of it is looking to start in August, and we're told it should end in October. So that will be in enough time, certainly, for next year.
Perfect. Thank you very much for clarifying that for those watching at home. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. That is carried. Next up, we do have economic development. 14E.1, proposed extension of time to complete construction for 2684820 Ontario Inc. Looking for a motion. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council agree to extend the time to complete construction at 99 Houses Lane until December 31st, 2024.
Getting a little frustrating with that button. Thank you. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? Seeing none? Okay. All those in favor? That is carried. Next up, we have clerks. 14F.1, committee appointments. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the appointment of members of the public to committees as outlined in the report.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder? Counselor Lauder? Discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll just make a comment then. We really appreciate, we can't do what we do as a city without volunteers here in the community. A lot of these different committees put a lot of work into what you see brought forward to you to enjoy here in the city. So thank you so much to all those volunteers and applicants that apply. And please encourage, we typically get a lot of applications, but I want to encourage you, if you haven't been chosen yet, keep applying and we'd love to have you serve one day. And with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. So moving along, nothing from the CIO's office, human resources, nothing from fire services, public works, or IT, but we do have special committee and advisory task force reports. 15A, Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council direct staff to initiate the public consultation process for the proposed boundary adjustment proposal with the Township of Norwich.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder? Councillor Leatherborough, questions or discussion? Councillor Leatherborough.
Through your worship, I would just ask the CAO if he could give a brief summary about this report.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Leatherborough. Yes, it was back in May of 2023 that Council authorized the sending of an invitation to the Township of Norwich to enter into boundary adjustment discussions, and at that time struck a boundary adjustment committee of Council, which comprised Councillor Lauder, Councillor Leatherborough, and Mayor Accioni. Since that time, the township accepted the invitation and put forward their own task force to meet. The two committees met 3 or 4 times over the past year, I guess, and a little bit, and came up with this draft proposal, which includes approximately 950 acres in the southern portion of the city of Woodstock. It includes sufficient land to facilitate the realignment of Petulo Road, which is a requirement for further development of the employment land along the north side of Petulo Road. So the proposal outlines the proposed geography of the boundary adjustment. Also included is the draft compensation between the township and the city of Woodstock, which includes basically making the township whole for the current tax revenues that they derive from the area, as well as a joint prosperity percentage share of additional assessment that comes from commercial and industrial assessment tax classes. There is a tax mitigation and a tax phase-in component being proposed for the residential tax class and the farm tax class. At this point, Council is not approving anything in finality. It's simply approving a proposal to advance to the public consultation process. The Municipal Act is very prescriptive in what the requirements are for facilitating a change in the boundary of a municipality, and public consultation and Indigenous consultation is a primary requirement that must be fulfilled. We're simply asking Council's direction then to advance this to the public consultation, at which point both councils will have an opportunity to hear from those impacted, those within the area of the boundary adjustment, and to take that information into consideration in the preparation of any final proposal that may come forward probably through the summer months. I think it's important just to point out that there may be some misinformation with some of the signage that we're seeing going up in the area, that a boundary adjustment does not include the city acquiring any land per se. It doesn't change land use, nor does it change boundary adjustment. It simply moves the corporate boundary of the city of Woodstock from one line to another line. And with that comes additional opportunities for development of that land, as well as the extension of urban level of municipal services to that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? I'd like to just make a couple of comments myself, along with our CIO, of course, has summarized it very well. So thank you for that. But I want to be clear, there's no expropriation. We've seen some signage already going up. That is not, there's no discussion of any change of use for those lands whatsoever. The city is not buying those lands ourselves. The proposal is being brought forward because the MTO is requiring the intersection of Batulo Ave and Highway 59 to be relocated further away from the 401 ramp. So that's what's prompted all of this, to be clear. If this recommendation is approved today, a meeting will be selected for the public meetings or meetings following the public meeting. The Boundary Adjustment Committee will take into consideration any feedback received and make any final adjustments to the proposal. So both City of Woodstock and Norwich Township will take the final proposal to the respective councils for approval to submit to the province, subject to approval by Oxford County Council, of course. So just wanted to be clear there. Okay. Anything further before I call the vote? Councillor Lauder?
And those public consultations, we both will be there together. So we will hear everything. We've been through this. I have been through this a few times. And so we will hear both sides, and basically it'll be a lot to do with Norwich because I'm sure that there's lots of concerns. And the one thing on the residential that is in this, and it's written here, as it will take some time before they would have to even pay our taxes. So it is quite fair on that part, but we will see what happens when we come to this meeting.
Yes, there's definitely, we've spoken a lot at our committee meetings of different options, different things to be done. Of course, that'll be all shared with the public and looking for their feedback. So we look forward to that. But it's very amicable and it's for both of our benefits that something is put together here and quite clear once the public sees that. So please stay tuned and you'll get invites if you're in that immediate area. Okay. And with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. We do have a notice of motion today. So Councillor Leatherborough.
Whereas found in the 2021 census, the enumerated population of the city of Woodstock was 46,705, which represents an increase of 13.6% from 2016. And whereas found in the 2021 census, 8,230 children aged 0 to 14 were enumerated in the city of Woodstock, representing respectively 17.6% of the total population. In comparison, for Canada, the proportion of children was 16.3% in 2021. And whereas Oxford County is the designated childcare service system manager responsible for planning and managing licensed childcare services in our community, and is committed to working with community partners to enhance the quality of life for all citizens, even the youngest among us. And whereas Oxford County is currently developing the next 5-year childcare and early years plan to cover 2025 through 2029, presenting an opportunity for the city of Woodstock to align with the county on this important service. And whereas there can be different funding types to support new childcare centers, and municipalities have played a strong role in this by identifying structural space for these centers, and studies show that for every dollar invested in early years and childcare programs, the broader economy receives between $1.50 to $6. And whereas by recognizing childcare as a necessary service in neighborhoods and defining solutions to reduce barriers to access, municipalities can directly contribute to supporting employment opportunities for families and fostering economic sustainability at the local level. And whereas the public's top 2 objective identified in the strategic realignment survey was effectively deliver amenities and services, and whereas how a child develops during ages 0 to 5 affects future cognitive, social, emotional, language, and physical development, which in turn influences school readiness and later success in life. And whereas early intervention for children with special needs are crucial for their successful transition to the school system and later success in life. Now therefore be it resolved that Woodstock City Council directs staff to prepare a report for council by September 2024, outlining ways in which Woodstock can partner with various stakeholders to support and facilitate the creation of additional childcare spaces in the city, and further that this report include options for amending zoning provisions to be more permissive for childcare and utilizing existing and future municipal properties as locations for childcare centers, including requiring all future city-built infrastructure to consider a childcare component.
Thank you. And as a notice of motion, we will discuss this at length and vote on it on June 20th. So thank you. No new business today that I'm familiar with all. So that brings us to draft bylaws. Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, moved by Counselor Schadenberg, seconded by Counselor Tate, that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9688-24, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8625-10 as amended, and then 8-24-04 for the corporation of the city of Woodstock.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, moved by Counselor Schadenberg, seconded by Counselor Tate, that the following bylaws be given a third and final reading. 9688-24.
Thank you. Last chance. Any questions on that? All those in favor? That is carried. That brings us to the end of our meeting today. Questions and addresses by members of council. And today we're going to start with Counselor Leatherborough.
I'll keep mine short and sweet. This Saturday is the Cultural Canvas event, which I'm so excited for, downtown Woodstock. I checked out Museum Square last night and it was looking sharp, and the fountain was on as well. So that event is 2 p.m. till 8 p.m., I believe, and lots of businesses downtown have different specials on. So that'll be great. And just recognizing that June is the last month of school. So patience be with educators and families and caregivers, but I hope everyone has a great last month of school before summer break.
Thank you. Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. There's lots going on at the arts and culture going on in Woodstock downtown this Saturday, June the 8th. At 1 p.m., please join us at the Art Gallery Summer Open House, where we will celebrate the new youth exhibition, Creative Pathways, and announce the recipients of the 2024 Friends of the Woodstock Art Gallery's Legacy Scholarship. The afternoon will also include the dedication of the Bruce Flowers Sculpture Garden Commission. And afterwards, you can go across to the culture canvas, as has been reported here by Councillor Leatherborough. And so hope to see everyone downtown. And yesterday I attended the Southgate AGM. I was asked to thank council and staff for their support in finalizing the contract to proceed with the long-awaited capital expansion, which is to commence on July the 17th. Mr. Hilderly was very complimentary, thanking Mr. Wallace and Ms. Neal for all the work and dedication provided in bringing this project to fruition. And my thoughts are with those commemorating the sacrifice of the veterans 80 years ago on Juno Beach Landing. It was amazing to see the reporting this morning of 13 veterans able to attend the ceremonies, and the oldest gentleman was 101. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, yesterday they marked the 50th anniversary of DASO in the facility on James Street. I know that everybody on city council was there because I was the last one there, and they basically told me everyone had already been there. So I didn't get there till 5:30, and by the time I was done the tour, the black clouds were rolling in and everyone was scurrying about, folding up their tables and getting their chairs inside. So it was a great event. And what was so surprising about it, not the fact that the DASO needs maybe a larger facility, because it doesn't serve just Woodstock, but all of Oxford County, but that there's 17 beds there. Not for 17 different families, but 17 beds there. So there could be, 11 or 12 families being serviced at any point in time. And basically, I think the number was 150 or 160 families last year in the calendar year that they weren't able to give service to. So that's unfortunate as well. So they have to be able to figure out a direction to get more funding from the province or elsewhere to be able to maybe do an expansion at that facility. We heard earlier that it's Seniors Month in June, but it's also Recreation and Parks Month in June. The city of Woodstock has some great advertising on the What's on Woodstock magazine and also on Facebook to promote that fact. And I guess that's it for today. That's enough. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
A shameless plug from Big Brothers Big Sisters. We have our online auction going right now. It wraps up tomorrow afternoon. So there's some great items on there, especially if you have a father to purchase a gift for or a father figure in your life that you want to celebrate. We've got some great items on there. So you can check that out at our website for bbbsoxford.ca. I unfortunately won't be around this weekend for Cultural Canvas, so I'm really disappointed to miss that, but I look forward to seeing all the photos and seeing lots of people celebrating. Oxford County Pride will be having their Family Day celebration next Saturday as well, and that will be at Museum Square. So join them in celebrating Pride Month as well. And I had one other thing and it slipped my mind. So I know Ingema Homes has their open house coming up as well later this month. So make sure you get that in your calendar. I believe it's June 20th is the date for their event. So make sure you get that in your calendar and help celebrate the great work that's happening at Ingema Homes as well. And I'm going back after this. We are having our office is being repainted today for a day of caring, United Way's Day of Caring today. So all day yesterday, I spent the day prepping and sanding walls, and my husband got after me because I won't do that work on my house, but we did it at the office there. So a big thank you to not only United Way, but all of the businesses that come out and volunteer on this day to come and help the different agencies across Oxford County. Getting our office painted is something that we just don't have the time to do as staff, and funds obviously are directed to other things. So to have a business like Shouse Decorating in downtown Woodstock donate all the supplies today and having these volunteers come, we are extremely grateful and really appreciate everybody's support that way.
Thank you. Last but not least, Councillor Tate.
Yes, I just want to mention the passing of Crawford Reed. And for those that don't know, he's a very, was highly respected person in the civil construction industry. He was a very close friend and mentor to the current owner of Oxford Sand and Gravel, as Crawford Reed owned Oxford Sand and Gravel from 1980 to 95. He was an industry leader. He was chairman of the board there and is past president of Canadian Auto. He did reside in Brantford, but had close connections to Woodstock, and all the current companies in Woodstock that are in the civil engineering construction all remember him, and he was a very, very respected person. Sorry to miss people like that in the industry, and also a big supporter of the community. And just on that note, as Woodstock will notice, our flags are at half-mast because a long-term employee, Dale Atkinson, has passed away. He worked for the city of Woodstock for 33 years. He was very well liked by all his coworkers and his managers. Sorry to see him go at such a young age. Everybody had such nice things to say about him, and it's very sad. That's it.
Thank you. Yes. Plan on mentioning something as well for Dale or Atke. He will be missed, of course, and appreciate all those years of service, and to his family. We're thinking about them during this difficult time. Also want to make sure as well, again, thank you to Huron Park going to the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Of course, the Battle of Normandy, they're there, and they were there this morning, apparently. It just, I think it helps bring the reality that that was what things were like. I mean, we lost 5,000 Canadian lives that day fighting for what we all take for granted for, I believe, right now. Tens of thousands of allies died that day on the beaches in Normandy. So just always remember that. It's just incredible to believe that was 80 years ago. Congratulations again to the 50th anniversary of DASO. Great event yesterday, and it's the first time I've been there, dropped stuff off there, but I've never actually been inside and did a full tour. So it was quite nice to see the inside of it, and hats off to all the staff and the volunteers and the companies that contribute to make that possible. This weekend is a very busy weekend. In fact, I think Saturday is my busiest day ever as a counselor. I've got 8 events and something like 5 hours to attend. So there's lots going on. I'm going to apologize now. I like to stick around a lot more, but a couple of them I did want to mention that is cultural bus tour. Okay. Of course, we have the cultural canvas has been mentioned already, Philippine Independence Day. So that one's going to be different. Kind of excited to see that as well. We've got dedication at Bruce Flower Garden tomorrow. Lions Club has a bench naming tomorrow. So again, is nothing worse than seeing on social media that there's nothing to do here in the city of Woodstock when we have so many things going on. And stay tuned and keep coming to the What's on Woodstock magazine. They do such a great job of notifying what's going on here in our community. Councillor Pusket, I just want to say thank you again for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed it coming to your meeting. This one was a little bit shorter. I think when I was at it was 3 or 4 hours long. So you did very good at coming to the right meeting. That was a little bit shorter. But we were just thank you very much for coming. Your hospitality is second to none. And what you've contributed to your community is just commendable. So thank you. No problem. Well, thank you so much and safe travels. And again, wish your family well from all of us here at City Council. Okay. And with that, looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Wismer Van Meer, seconded by Councillor Leatherborough. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.